think everyone is here.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I believe we are now live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And we are so happy that you all joined us here today. Today, last year, we had a conversation with as many people as were interested in coming about walking into the holidays when we're having difficult conversations. So, whenever we're struggling with fertility, then we can find that walking into the holidays isn't as joyful. We're not as excited because we're concerned about hearing other people's announcements and people asking us if we're going, when we're starting our family. And so we had such a positive response last year and so many thank yous that we thought we would come back for a take two in this. And so I wanted to bring our whole team. We have a new addition or two. We've made a lot of changes in what we're doing over the past year. So I would love to introduce you to our people here with us today. So first, I'm going to start with my top of my screen. I'm not sure what you're seeing, but we have Dave here at the top. Dave Tuscany is one of our dad coaches. We have 3 dads coaches and 5 moms coaches. We do actually meet together, co-ed together, but then when we separate into moms and dads separately, we have dads for dads, moms for moms, and sometimes we even switch. So next we have Gail. She is our nutritionist and the mindfulness coach. And so she's here with us. She's been here from the beginning, as has Dave and the majority of our team. And is a pharmacist, master's in nutrition, and 2 year certification in mindfulness here to help us as well. Next, we have Jessica. Jessica is our somatics and relationship coach. And so she's here today. She's going to help us with a few body exercises that we can do in order to decrease stress when it comes to entering the holidays. Next is Leo, who is another one of our dad coaches. He's here with us. He's also a social worker, works with IFS, so internal family systems work as well. So we're happy he's here with us. Next, I have Jen. She is our heart math and hypnotherapy expert. So she helps people with biofeedbacks and with hypnotherapy in our work. Next, I have Kelly. Kelly is an RN who spent over 15 years in the mental health and pediatric space, who is also our functional medicine health coach, fully trained through the IFM model. So she's here with us, also with 2 babies through our methods here as well. So ask questions of Kelly if you have any. Then next, I have John, who is our third dad coach, also here with us. All of our dad coaches are life coaches, and they are uh, training, helping people in all different places and areas of coaching. So, thank you to my entire team for being here today. And I know that we wanted to go ahead and get started. I think that we're going to just take one moment here because it looks like that Facebook may not be rolling. So we want to just give it a moment uh, before we start here. So it's still just a still pic. So bear with us for just a moment, and we're going to see. Looks like we need to be a little louder too and speaking up. So let's see. And then it does look like we have, yeah, there's a little sound buzz on our microphone here. So I'm not sure if there's
Hmm.
background noise for any of my coaches. If you guys hear anything in your background or you're not hearing it through the microphone, then maybe that's where it's coming from. You know what? I'm going to take a second to mute and see if it's me. Not me. Mute quickly and see. Okay. And then Gail, you want to mute? still there, Jessica? And Leo, I'm going to go ahead and mute. And then Jen. Jen, it's yours. So when you talk, go ahead and turn it back on. But otherwise, if you can stay on mute, would be great, and then we'll go from there. So okay, so we have found it. And I would love to share with you also, we are having our newest members of our team, Emily and Tristan Magnuson, are going to be joining us for this conversation as well, as they have just
Excellent.
been through this entire process also, uh, uh, with having their baby, who is now Oakley's what, a little over 6 months now. I'm going to get that wrong, but they can correct me and come in because they
Yeah,
just had this experience very recently in having to walk through these holidays and having a challenging time when it comes to having these conversations.
yeah,
So um, what I would love now is, I would love to introduce to you Dave again and John. They're going to talk with you briefly about how you may have some skills in handling these difficult announcements, and I'd love for the rest of my team to also hop in as they see fit.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. What we find is that with many couples, there's one partner who is often more emotional than the other. So one partner really needs to be able to hold space, empathize, and not try to fix. So let's slow that down. Number one is if my partner were to be upset, the first thing as a masculine, as a man, we don't want to do is to try to fix anything, to take it away. Don't try to force joy. John, how about you? Any thoughts you have about that, about not trying to fix it or take away and try to force joy into the conversation?
yeah. Well, I'm so like I'm so present and respectful to um, for my partner and I, we went through a good 5 years of wanting to conceive, and we during that time, Dave, we witnessed my wife's sister-in-law have two children, and I remember the frustration. I can feel the sadness in my body. And it's like, what do you do with that? So, in response to that question, Dave, I think one is what comes up for me is that whatever we share is optional. It's our business. So I think it's my want to share is, come together and just know that your business is private and respectful. And if someone says, "Hey, how's it coming? When are you going to start that family? When are you going to have that next kid?" I want to share that. Sharing is optional, kind of no action required. And even say, we're so happy to be growing and focusing on our family and appreciate you asking, how are things with you? So it's a way to divert and that you don't have to share anything. So out of self-respect, self-care, and self-preservation, just know that you have that option if other people are being insensitive. So that's, other thoughts here. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
I
for
have to
asking, Dave.
say, yeah, thank you for that, John. My personal experience as well. I think some of the worst parts of the holidays in my own infertility journey were, yeah, these big parties, these big social events where maybe we break off into separate corners and, I can kind of overhear what's being said, but I'm not sure. And then I'm like, wait, did we discuss like what we're willing to share, how far we're willing to go? I highly recommend having that conversation with your partner before these events or before you're heading out to dinner with a group you haven't seen in a while and may ask, just expressing to each other what your comfort level is. So when you do take off, and depart into those separate groups to have those conversations, you're not nervous or stressed about it. Because I did find, before having that conversation, I was like, wait, did you see something? No, I didn't want to say anything, or I didn't tell them even that we were trying, or, having those kind of anxieties. And then obviously that would change the mood of the whole night. So yes, being very clear with your
Yeah.
partner on what you're both willing to share during those moments.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Kelly and John. And one of the things that I believe is that presence heals. Just being present with my partner
Mm,
heals. I don't have to have an answer to everything. And in the
yeah.
moment when it's crunchy, a hand holding under the table, a look into the eyes, and breathing together really does wonders.
Mm,
Another
yeah.
thing I think it's important is when these difficult conversations come up is hold space. Hold space really means to just listen with the intent to understand, not try to fix anything, not try to take the comments so that I can learn to say something right away. Holding space means just receiving the other person openly.
Mm.
John, anything you have to say about that? Anyone else?
Well, I just what came up for me is stories where I remember being like right after we got married. I got a call from my aunt-in-law, my wife's aunt, and she said, she's like, have you knocked her up yet? You know, coming right up and asking, like, was the family starting? And I remember feeling so caught off guard and like, how do I respond to this? And so, I mean, I still carry that, like that awkwardness. So, I know these things are going to happen, and family is going to be family, right? And again, I just keep going back to, no action required. I like what you're saying, Dave. Taking that time out. We don't have to respond. So self-preservation, self-care, self-respect. Um, you know, uh, yeah. Thanks for asking. How are you? I'm going to go back with that, Dave.
Yeah, listening is so different than hearing, isn't it? Hearing means that I'm really understanding the nuance behind what the words are that you're saying. How many of you women that have been in a relationship or are just notice when you're really being heard? How does that feel, especially when
Mm,
you're upset, especially when that conversation happens that you just really don't want to have happen in the
mm,
family dining room?
mm,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Dave. So I'm curious, those of you that had those experiences where you were having the conversations, you were already in a situation with your families. I wonder, did you have any, way of communicating with each other, or did you have any plans of what if I just need to get out of here? Did you set
mhm.
anything up in advance to communicate with your partner about if that gets too tough, here's how we can maybe gently exit?
I feel like in those conversations about preparing about kind of like what your limits are and information you'd want to share, um mine was always like retreat to the restroom. Like if you feel like it's becoming too much, like, oh, could you please excuse me, I'm gonna go use the restroom, or whatever the case may be. Or use a sense of humor, like, oh, well, we're practicing every
Yeah.
day, don't you worry, but it's not for a lack of trying, or however you're
Wow.
feeling in that moment too, like using a little bit of humor, because not everything has to feel so heavy all the time. So sometimes
Mm,
bringing a lighter edge to it, depending on your mood of the moment. So just allowing that flexibility with yourself, and maybe it doesn't have to be, we try to prepare for these things, but sometimes, in the mood of the moment, you're going to handle it the best that you can, and just give yourself grace is the biggest is the biggest lesson. But as far as signs, I think I wear my emotions pretty outwardly. So I think it's easy to pick up for me personally, like when I was getting uncomfortable with something, or I just give like a really short answer, kind of like, we're moving along. Next question. Yeah, thanks for asking. And like John said, like, well, how are you? Back to you. So redirecting that focus, or shifting that focus, however creatively you'd like to do.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love not for
Thanks.
lack of trying, Kelly. I love that. Not for lack of
People
trying.
always say, always
You have a little smile, not for lack of trying. It's kind of flippant. it's also taking them
Ah,
into the realm of, do you really want to talk about my sex life? And so, that might pull them back a little bit in that space, which I think that's
A little
fantastic.
shock value.
Little
Sure.
shock
Yeah.
value, not
you know,
bad, and then have to go, oh, and then they might think a little bit more, but they also know then you're in that spot and maybe they need to be a little more conscientious. I would love to hear if any of you have any recommendations. Well, first of all, Dave, were you going to say something? I think you might not have been complete. I think you were.
Well, I just had one additional thought that might be helpful. During these times when there's difficult conversations happening, uh, it's mainly to empathize and validate. This is one of the most powerful techniques that I've ever learned with my partner is I totally hear where you're coming from. It makes perfect sense that you'd be upset. I used it today with my wife. Makes perfect sense that you'd be upset. I hear you. I'm with you. How powerful is that? Yeah.
Mm.
So thanks for Jessica. That's
Yeah,
one of the things I think is so important.
I love that,
yeah. And
Dave.
if I may, yeah, a
Please.
piece around a similar space where, expressing when my wife is upset with something, um, the power of simply expressing, thank you for trusting me with how you feel. And I can see this, and just as what we're talking about, because I judge the holidays can be a stressful time that can exploit even more our nervous system. And I know we're going to share a little bit about what we can do and calming our nervous system and grounding ourselves. And we're talking a little bit about how to come together and even having hand signals. I was laughing, Jen. I remember we would have this like, oh, I've got this like kink in my neck. Like a really, this was the code of it's time to go. Like get me out of here or come and rescue me. With this space of saying, thank you for sharing with me how you feel. Like, thank you for trusting me with your truth. Tell me more. And that space, Dave, I love it, of just listening and using that tool that we talk about, reflective listening. What I heard you share was, is there anything more? You know, and do you, and, yeah, do you need anything? Is there anything I can do for you? Or sometimes can I get you a cup of tea? Just a nice way to kind of put that bow on the box. But I love that, Dave. Thanks for just bringing the power of listening, no action required, but showing that deep connection to hear. In this case, where my partner's at. Yeah, great stuff.
I'd love to. Yeah, thank you, John. I'd love to add in because the people that I surround myself, which are the people that you see in
Mm,
this, all of you, all of these people. So for those of you out there that are watching, the people I surround myself, which are these people that you see here, are so well versed in these conversations and this ability to say things like sitting together, where until recently, sitting together in silence for me with my partner would have been a discomfort. It would have been an uncomfortable space. What are you
yeah.
thinking? What am I thinking? Actually, I would get, what are you thinking? And I'm thinking about quantum physics or something. I'm not even thinking about what you think I'm thinking about. And but the bottom line, I think, is so that I want people to hear when you're in my space, which is I don't understand this space of being uh, quiet and holding space, is we kind of have to sink into a vulnerable space with each other, like holding hands, looking at each other and knowing we're both uncomfortable, or we're both, it's okay
Yeah.
to be a little hurt or unhappy around what's happening right here, right now. So isn't that an important aspect, to just kind of slow down, to learn how to be silent with your partner? It's hard. We don't know how, so we just start by doing. See how it feels, be uncomfortable, laugh about it. Any other hints
Yeah,
on what might be helpful to people
yeah. It
starting?
occurs to me that what we're asking is for presence, which you alluded to, Dave. That if I can be in the present moment and hold that space for the other, where I am in the space of being self-regulated and helping the other self-regulate if that's what's needed. But it requires for me to be present to what I'm feeling in the moment and to be able to contain whatever feelings are in the moment for me, and so that I can maybe bring that generous heart to hold space
Mm,
for other who might be in a difficult place. So when we spoke about presence, I think presence is mindfully engage in each situation or in each encounter, from that place of there's nothing to fix here. There's nothing to change. How do we deal with it together, right? So bring in
mm,
the consciousness of a we as opposed to I and where I'm
mm,
at in the moment.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's super important. There's so much shame involved. And I can only speak obviously from a woman's perspective, but you feel like a bit of you is broken. Like something's not working, something's not right with me. And you feel like everyone can see that, whether they can or not. Like they can feel that energy. So I think having that kind of support from your partner directly. And again, not the most important part is not trying to fix it, right? Like let me feel how I feel and just love me. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's your
Mm,
only requirement. And the cup of tea, like put a bow on it. That's so sweet. Like that's exactly those kinds of little things. Like that's what's needed. Just like soften the blow a little bit. Just be the
mm,
rock, that you probably are in your relationship already. It's just it gets hard for men, I think, to know how to support, and that was constant. Like, well, I just don't know what to do to help you feel better about it. And I like that. Like sometimes no action required. Sometimes you just don't have to feel better about it. Sometimes you can
yeah.
just feel bad together. You're in it together. So this is all very important.
Mm,
I just want to hop in and like the just to say that it's easier said than done. So I'd be curious from the team. It's when we're in those situations where we are, in a family function and somebody, announces that they're pregnant and you
Mm.
can get triggered, right? So I'd be curious what Emily or Tristan or John, what you would have done in a situation like that, so that it's hard to be present when you're triggered, right? So what can we do, or what would you
yeah.
have done in that situation, right?
I think early on, honestly, what we did is we went home and cried because I didn't have the tools then to know, which is one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. And so back to that almost that piece of sobriety, Jen. Thank you for the reminder. Easier said than done. Um, you know, in knowing now, I'm just so clear that my family business is no one else's business. And I love that reminder, Dave, to come back, and Leo, what you're talking about, come back to the we and have a plan. So I think we would have come together and been prepared. Just how do we want to take care of ourselves and honor ourselves and our family and what we want, knowing it's no one else's business, even when we're having a hard time. And we can choose. And I think that would have been the difference, Jen. I think we would have identified those people that we can talk to and share with how we feel. And if there's someone at the gathering, sure, but that's intentional. That's coming from us, part of our plan. So I'll stop there. But I wish I had some more of those tools then. But really, the sanctity of self-respect. Um, it's again, thanks for asking, and we look forward to sharing more with you. How are you?
I think going
So,
into a holiday party, no one ever is hoping to get triggered. You want to be supported in this time with people, and yet these sorts of things come up. One of the things that
mm,
Emily and I really focused on was this idea that a third of people are going to say things that are helpful. A third of people are going to say things that, it doesn't hurt that much. And a third of people are probably going to say things that hurt. And I don't think that they mean it, but that's just the way it hits us in that day, or they don't know how to talk about challenges like this in that space. and they often default to their own will for you. This idea of having a will for someone, we often have a will for someone else, and people have that for us. And instead of them asking, what's your all's journey, if you're willing to share, they'll often say things that align with their will for you, or their will for you, and then also on the other side, their will for themselves. How are their questions revealing things about their personality or their insecurities or their, self that comes up? And you can start to notice these things, and hopefully by noticing those things, we can give them some grace and say, okay, these people today, they're in the this isn't helpful to, here. And kind of give some grace, prep yourself to realize, like, hey, there are going to be some people that it might come up and this might hurt.
Yeah.
Tristan, I love the word grace. Sometimes I just don't know what to say. And I'm guessing that for all of us, that during the holidays, some of those uncomfortable conversations come up and you don't know what to say or do. I sometimes will just throw the Hail Mary pass, which basically is, honey, I don't know what to do or say right now. What would you like? That's grace, right? Anybody else?
Well, I love that. My husband and I have been together a long time, so 26 plus years, and I have a way of holding his hand. And I didn't even realize until just recently that when I hold his hand a certain way, he knows that I actually need more support. So that, just that awareness of my partner has been incredible. And then the second thing is we have a code word, and it doesn't always have to be the same word, but when we go to a function and he knows that I can get easily overstimulated, we have a word and we decide on it in advance. And we just know that if I say that word, no matter what, it's time to go. So just to have that cohesiveness in our communication in advance, so that I feel safe to go into a situation knowing that I can exit when I need to.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you said a key word there, safe, feeling safe. That's I think that's why it's so important to create that container in our relationships where we can hold space even when the other one is triggered. So, because as humans, we will get triggered. No matter how long I do this work, there's still triggers that I will come
Yeah.
up. So, but it's in the communication that we can use, that we can put in place, that I can either really escalate the thing, or I can really be able to come to a different agreement with one another, and where we hold space no matter how messy it gets, because life does get messy.
Thank you, though.
I
You're
love
allowed to
that
add
piece, Leo.
on to this. If I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to, when we talk about feeling safe, I just wanted to take a quick moment because, as I said, all of you are so well versed in all of this language. I'm new. I've only been around for a couple of years in this, and I know what this means. And so I think the best way to describe feeling safe is when you feel comfortable with your person, where you're not feeling anxious or sad. We can feel that way with our situation, especially with infertility, as kind of a hum in the background all the time. So that can be so uncomfortable. But when we're sitting with our person and we actually feel comfort or comforted, that is my best description of the word safe. So when we say feeling safe, I know you mentioned the word container. Basically, that's feeling like the two of you are in your balloon together. So the two of you are in your own balloon together and nobody else is in there, and everything goes in there, and you feel comforted and calm with each other. That is how I would describe feeling safe in a container with your partner. And so trying to strive and find gentle conversation because you're on the same team to say, how do we both feel that comfort, and what are the tools that we need for that? And I have two. Well, I have two thoughts. One is And I did this with my kid's dad, and this was a wonderful thing that worked for us, which is whichever was the more conservative. Like if, for example, if Jen had said she wants to leave a party sooner, so that means that if that were me with my partner or whoever needs to leave the party sooner, that means that the other person is probably going to have to leave the party before they're ready, but that is what nurtures their partner in that feeling safe and comforted space. So that was a rule that worked all the time for us, err on the side of conservation, whichever is the most comfortable for the person who is the most uncomfortable is what rules in the relationship space when it comes to going out in the world. And then in response and return, what we can do as the person who wants to leave early or needs is let's find something that we can celebrate in the holidays that belongs to us, that we can find joy within, where we don't have to worry about the interaction from people outside of our bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
I
love
like that.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to just add real quick that I really like your definition of safe and that comfort feeling, right? And then I just want to add like, and it's okay to lose it sometimes too, right? And so, and then feeling safe to be able to lose it and still know you're going to be loved. Even if I have to leave your favorite aunt's or grandma's family function early because, Aunt Susie asked some really,
Mhm.
really challenging questions that just hit me way the wrong way,
Yeah.
So that I like that. I mean, it just feels like the different, bubbles of safety, right?
Well, it reminds me of, holding this as a skill and something that takes practice, intentionality. And when I think of safety, what came up for me, Jess, is expectations. Like, what do I need to feel safe? So one of the things I will do is, but this is 20, 27 years plus in the making. I remember early on just being able to check in with my partner. Can I get you anything? And it's more of just the act of recognition, that act of servitude, kind of like Jen when you talked about the way the handhold, the energetic, like I'm here with you. Um, yeah, like the, our baseline needs are met, but having that expectation, those conversations before going to the party, I think is so key. Yeah, what do you think you're going to need? I just want it because I'm here for you. I want to make sure that you feel supported, that we're supported and together. So I'll share this. Early on in my relationship, we'd go to parties or family gatherings, and I'm off in the other room. Like, I don't do that anymore until needs are met, things are established, until I know there's safety there, Jess. And it's not then to just leave, but that periodic check-in. So I think there's an art on part of that safe and graceful conversation, and having that
Yeah,
before you go to the event.
John, I love that, and the image that I kind of try to assume with my wife when we were trying and things were just not working and we were going into the holidays was, how could I be a bodyguard slash press secretary? So like hovering around Emily, always there, so that when
Yes.
the words would come at her and I'd push them away, deflect, and be prepared to handle the really difficult questions so that my wife didn't have to in the moment, right? So that press secretary, you can say whatever she wants to, and as soon as like the next step that goes too far, oh, okay, here I'm here for this question. This is where I come in. So like a dad providing that, a husband providing that, great perspective, bodyguard slash press secretary.
So powerful. Yeah.
I love
50 gold stars, Tristan.
That's it. And for those of you,
That's
keep Tristan
awesome.
right up there because Tristan wasn't introduced in the very beginning. Tristan, and I know Emily's not on the screen, but he has De Novo Dad next to his name because he actually has been through all of our work and has the adorable Oakley, who we were trying to remember how old he is. Is he 7 months old?
He's almost 8 months. Yep.
Almost
Yeah.
8 months
Yeah.
old now.
And
So
that's the
that's
reason
wonderful.
why Emily isn't on the call, unfortunately, putting him to
Yeah.
bed. So thankful to have him distracting us from being on the call.
It's perfect. It's perfect. No, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
It,
go ahead, John, if you want to finish, and then I'd like us to move
just
on.
adorable. No, Oakley. I'm just how cute and wanting to, just how adorable and beautiful Oakley is. I'm so happy for you, Tristan, and you and Emily and Jane, and well, thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Just feeling that adoration, Jess.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, and we're looking for if there are any questions from anybody watching. If you have any questions, please, we have people on all of our sites here. We can actually receive those questions. So if you have any, please be sure to put them in the chat feature on whichever you are streaming through: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So what I would love to do is, we did promise to give you some help on what to do when conversation is conversation, but what if we feel stress? And what do we do when we're really feeling that stress? So what I would love to do is just hand this over to Gail, who's going to help us with a little bit of breathing. And let me tell you, when it comes to breathing, the way that we breathe can actually impact our fight or flight. So when we breathe in a certain way, it actually puts us right into takes us out of fight or flight and puts us into that rest and digest and procreate space. And so I would love to hand things over to Gail to get us kind of in that mode. We would really welcome you all to do this along with us. You'll see us doing it along with you too.
Great. Yeah. So before we actually start practicing this, I'd love to just take a minute to talk a little bit about breath work, because I feel it's so valuable on so many levels. One of the reasons I really love it, besides the fact that it's always with you, you're carrying it around with you, is because of how quickly it can change your emotion in the moment. And this can be so important with the fertility challenges you may be experiencing, especially during the holidays. And there's actually, Jessica alluded to it, there's so much science behind it, which is what I just really love, but I won't get into that today, but if anyone wants to, I will. For now, if anything's coming up for you during this holiday season, you can use the breath to cause a shift and really help you through challenging times. And I think sometimes at this time of year, we put pressure on ourselves to be, the most wonderful time of the year. And yet, if you're trying to conceive, or you just had a miscarriage, or you're experiencing any of the many fertility challenges, it may not be the most wonderful time of the year. And when you use the breath to help you through these times, you'll still stay aware and you'll be true to these feelings, whether it's sadness or anger or frustration or anxiety or just pure overwhelm. You can use the breath as a tool. It's something, like I said, it's always with you. It's available to you no matter where you are. And so for some of you on this call tonight, you may be familiar with breath work already and you can hop right in. And for those of you that have never done this, I will guide you through it. If you're absolutely brand new to it, I think sometimes it's helpful to try and not force your breath, force breathing, but rather try to just slow down and deepen the breath at your own pace in really a way that feels comfortable to you. And there's really so many different breathing techniques. There's so many different practices. I'm going to do one that's really easy to learn, and it can just really help you in a moment of stress, in a moment where you need to think sharply or make a decision when you don't know what to do. It's just one that can really just be right with you in that moment. So I'd like everyone to find a comfortable position. If it's comfortable and you can stay in a upright but relaxed position and feel your feet on the ground, this isn't going to be long at all. And if you actually feel better laying down, please do so. And if it's comfortable for you, just gently close your eyes or simply lower your lids. Just bring yourself right to this moment, right here, right now. And simply notice your breath as you inhale and exhale. Just observing the natural rhythm of your breath without trying to change it. Often when we're under stress, we have a tendency to naturally shorten our breath. Our breathing just becomes very shallow. And if you notice that happening, just gently try and lengthen the breath. And as you're paying attention to your breath, slowly and gently begin to extend your exhale. Not an exact number of counts, just longer than your inhale. So your exhale is longer than your inhale. And as you get more comfortable, you may find yourself increasing the length of your inhale too. But still try and make your exhale longer than your inhale. And if it's comfortable for you, you can even purse your lips and make a sound like you're blowing out birthday candles. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can even make an audible sound on the exhale. So it sounds like, oh, still keeping that exhale longer. I'll just give you another minute to practice on your own. And know that if at any moment you feel uncomfortable or you need to stop the practice or slow down, please do so. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and come back to the Zoom room. One of the things I love is that this is really backed by research, that simply extending the length of each exhale, we can trigger a relaxation response right in the moment.
Thank
One
you
of the
so much.
neuroscientists, oh, you're welcome. It just was one more thing. One of the neuroscientists we love in our group named Andrew Huberman describes it like a kill switch to our stress response. So just at any moment. So hopefully this is one tool you can take away today.
But one thing I love about that, and thank you, Gail, is those exhales. Even if you take a deep breath in and you have an exhale longer than the inhale for even just a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, it kind of resets you. And it is a great tool that you can use at any given time. As Kelly said, when she runs to the bathroom during a holiday event and needs to escape. But prior to, just to relax you a little bit in that space. And these are things you can take even in the moment when you're feeling that stress, when you're feeling confronted in a holiday situation and that stress is building again. Escape to the bathroom, to your car, to another room, and just take a moment or two to recenter yourself. Have that cue with your partner, the neck pain that John did and everything, to say, oh, it's time to go. That's something you can do too. And I would like to now have you meet Jessica again, who's basically our somatic and relationship coach. She's going to work in somatics, which is where your body meets how you're feeling. It's kind of, you can find where your feelings are. And I've learned this over the past few years, finding where a feeling is uncomfortable and how do you move that out of your body. Because there's that whole anxiety we can feel, and there's that we can't shake it from the inside of us feeling. And so I'm going to hand this over to Jessica. We promised you a 5-minute exercise, not a 20-minute, 30-minute, hour-long exercise, but something that you can do prior to events, during events, after events, at any point in time. So Jessica, I'd love to hand it over and have you take it from here.
Perfect. Thanks, Jess. I'm so grateful to be here, y'all, and to be in this conversation. I navigated a miscarriage last year, almost 2 years ago. And what really helped me was breath, what Gail put us through. And then also the somatics and going into the body and really moving a lot of the stored emotions, the stored tension and stress. John had said something earlier at the beginning of the call. If you guys caught it, he said he felt the sadness in his body. And that is precisely what happens. We can't think our feelings. It's called feelings because we feel them here. And so oftentimes emotions or stress will get stuck in the body. And the somatics is such a great tool to move these emotions. So I'm going to keep track of time, Jess. So I got us here on that. I'm just going to start us a timer. But I want everyone just to start rubbing their hands together for about 20 to 50 seconds. And this is just to cue to your body, like, okay, I have a body and I'm coming into my body. And I can start to feel this friction. I can start to feel the muscles engaging. Go a little faster if you're able to. I can feel heat, like all of these things that we can do, that we have access to. And then just stop that and just feel like the aliveness, right? And this is what happens when we go into and use tools to come into our body. And so there's a quick way just to drop in here. One of my favorite moves, I'm a registered yoga teacher. And so if you're familiar with cat-cow, usually you're on all fours. But there's a beautiful way we can do it in the chair too. So if everyone's just sitting on their sit bone, straight up spine, feet on the ground, this is just a really great way to bring mobility to the spine because we tend to hold so much stress here. And this just gives us like some mobility. It softens things in a little bit. So if you have your hands on your knees, on your lap, just start to feel your breath. And then on the inhale, we're going to bring the chest out, lift up the gaze to the ceiling. And then on the exhale, round the spine, bringing the chin to the chest. Inhale, chest up, eye gaze to the ceiling. And then exhale, rounding the spine. And doing this on your own, just following your breath, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Maybe your neck wants to move a little bit too. Just intuitively listen to your body and just feel the suppleness of the spine. Inhaling for cow pose here, gaze up. And then exhale, round the shoulders, round the spine. And we'll go for about 10 more seconds. One more breath. And then find some gentle stillness here. And just feel if you can feel a difference with the spine. We tend to hold so much. It's a big energy center in our body. So that really helps us just move it in and out and through. And so you can do that for a little bit longer if you're on your own. You can do it on your hands and knees if you're comfortable and you have a yoga practice. Another movement that I really, really love, especially us that work in an office, maybe we're at a computer all day, we tend to hold so much stress and tension in our neck and in our shoulders. So I'm going to guide us through like a 1-minute shoulder shrug and release. So you're going to have your hands again, feet on the ground, hands on your legs. And on your inhale, you're going to bring your shoulders up to your ears and then exhale, release and just let it drop. Inhale, bring it up, feel the tension, and then exhale, just release and melt away. So doing this at our own and just feel and start to be rhythmic with the breath. So beautiful. Do it for 20 more seconds. Just feeling what that feels like. Even if it brings a little laugh, right? That's still like you're moving tension, even with laughing. Like, doesn't that feel good? Imagine if someone makes you so mad and then you just get to like shake it off. Okay, so gently just bring your hands up over your head and just shake out your wrist. Shake out your hands. Feel how alive you are in your body. Feel how good that feels just to move and to shake. And then one of my last things that I just wanted to leave everyone with is I love a solo hug, y'all. This is a good one for grief. So I like to take my left hand and put it under my right armpit. And then I take my right arm over my heart, on my shoulder, and I just like give myself a squeeze. And I will take a one from Kelly's book, right? I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm just going to hug the crap out of myself. Like, I got me. I'm breathing. I'm moving. I'm doing the best that I can. I love me. My family loves me. They're doing the best that they can. You know, I might do some affirmations that way.
Yeah.
And then don't forget to look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a big smile, maybe a high five. You guys got this. You're doing great.
Yeah. Thanks, Jessica. Whoa,
Thank
beautiful.
you, Jessica.
Wow. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. I really, that's so good. And you can do it while sitting. This wasn't something, I mean, people that do cat and cow when yoga, if you want to do that on the floor is fine. It's kind of a little cheat where you can actually do these things and you can even do it when people are around and it might just look like you're stretching. So that's actually, I think, incredibly beneficial as well. That with breathing, take yourself out of the situation or not. And go from there and know that we've got you, and we're
Jess,
down to a few minutes. Yes, please.
Can I bring one more thing? I saw a comment about someone getting angry. And so like this is good for grief, right? Like covering your face. This is good for grief if you want to feel it. Anger, what I have found in my somatic practice is really getting into the muscles. So if you feel angry and you want to go to the bathroom and you want to just like push up against your hands, like as hard as you can, or like push up against a wall or do like the slowest squat. When we get into our muscles, it's such a good way to really like transmute that anger and let it move in the body. So I just saw a comment, so I wanted to mention that.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I know we're running out of time and we made some promises to the people that are watching. And so I think what we'll do is we'll carry that question in on Friday when we have our call for people that join. So we're going to add into our screen now how you can register to join us, where it's not a Facebook Live. What it is a group. It's all of us. We're all going to be there. It's a Zoom meeting that is private for those of you who are going to join. When you join us on Friday. It is not recorded. It will not be rebroadcast. We are there to answer questions for you. We basically are here for you throughout the holidays and beyond the holidays. And so we did want to tell you about our Year of the Healthy Baby that we're working on right now. Basically, we work with you in de novo fertility. We are trying to help people in all areas be able to have that baby of their dreams, whether you're first trying and just starting, when you're thinking, we just got married or we're just starting to consider having a pregnancy and a baby. What are the best things I can do for my body? I don't know. Google tells us a lot of different things out there. We have the evidence-based backing of the nutrition you need to do, the exercise you should do. You can see that we work with relationships and how you can have strength there, the appropriate way to sleep and move your body. So please join us on Friday. There is a link here down here, the bit.ly/de novo live coaching call. That is how you can register. We have a limited number of spots. So please register. That register will sign you up to basically get a couple reminder email. That's what that's going to do. Friday from noon till 1 EST. We will be talking about those different aspects of how we are helping people in our de novo community. We have greater than 80% success rate in helping people get pregnant through our programs. So please join us at any level of just trying all the way up to, we partner with IVF for people that would prefer not to do IVF. So please join us on Friday. We would love to have you there. And as I said, you're all welcome to be there with us. Ask your questions. It is free. Just join us and see how we can help you through the holidays. I would love to hear if anybody, we're going to leave this up right now, but if any of my team would love to add in any last minutes, we're down to a minute or so.
Yeah. Well, I'll share. My heart goes out to all families, all couples, anyone looking to want to manifest, fulfill that vision that they have for themselves. And I just want to say, whatever you're feeling and wherever you're at, the highs and the lows. What I love about us, Jess, and all of who we are is our magnificent heart. I judge as our secret sauce. And I would say, come and join us on Friday. Talking is free. We got you, at least to hear you and welcome you. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to connect with all of you.
Yeah. And we wish all of you a happy holidays, whether you are with family, whether you're just alone as a couple, just sending love to you all through the holiday.
And give yourself that the grace, the compassion and the grace, and maybe a big hug. Yeah, like that we won't always, handle things the way ideally, right? But lots of breath, lots of breathing, lots of tools, I love how Tristan said, people, they don't even realize what they're what they're asking or saying to you sometimes. And so, yeah, just that compassion and grace to yourself and to others. Thanks for being here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We hope we see you on Friday. Feel free to reach out if there's anything that you need. We're here.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.